punter drafted in the first round of the NFL draft? It had never happened before. In fact, many thought it never would, until Ray Guy stepped onto the field and redefined what a punter could be. For decades, punters were seen as afterthoughts, just another piece of the special teams puzzle. But Ray Guy was different. He had a golden leg, a mind for strategy, and a skill set that made him more than just a kicker. He was a weapon, a game changer, and the best to ever do it. Yet despite revolutionizing the game, Guy was ignored by the Hall of Fame for 27 years. Even after winning 3 Super Bowls, even after making history, his greatness was overlooked. Off the field, he faced personal struggles that many never knew about, battles that tested him as much as any game. So why did it take so long for football to give him the respect he deserved? And what made Ray Guy so unstoppable? Stay with me, because this isn't just a story about football. It's a story about greatness, perseverance, and a long overdue recognition that almost never happened. A small-town legend, the making of Ray Guy. Before he became an NFL icon, before he changed the way football viewed punters, Ray Guy was just a small-town kid with a gift like no other. Born and raised in Thompson, Georgia, Guy was the kind of athlete you only see once in a generation. It didn't matter what sport he played, football, baseball, basketball, track. He wasn't just good, he was dominant. While most punters spend years refining their crafts, Guy's leg was a natural weapon. He could boot a football farther than anyone around him without ever attending a kicking camp or working with specialized coaches. His technique? Pure instinct. By the time he reached Thompson High School, it was clear he was destined for greatness. On the football field, he was every coach's dream, a player who could do it all. Guy played quarterback, safety, kicker, and punter, a rare combination of roles that showcased his athleticism and versatility. But his biggest impact came when he launched the football into the sky, sending punts so high and far that opposing teams could only watch in disbelief. His ability wasn't just impressive, it was game-changing. In 1968, his senior year, Guy averaged a jaw-dropping 49.7 yards per punt. That kind of distance was unheard of, even at the college level. His powerful leg helped Thompson High School win back-to-back state championships in 1967 and 1968, cementing his legacy as a high school legend. But football wasn't the only sport that wanted him. His talents on the baseball field were just as extraordinary. As a hard-throwing pitcher, he caught the attention of Major League Baseball scouts. In 1969, the Cincinnati Reds drafted him in the 14th round, offering him a chance to pursue a professional baseball career. Most athletes would have jumped at the opportunity, but Ray Guy wasn't most athletes. He had his eyes on a different path, one that would forever change football. Instead of stepping onto the pitcher's mound, he chose the gridiron, a decision that would lead him to become the greatest punter of all time. College years. Becoming a dual threat at Southern Miss. Ray Guy didn't just play football at the University of Southern Mississippi. He dominated. From the moment he stepped onto the field, it was clear that he was something special. His booming punts didn't just flip the field, they changed the game. At Southern Miss, Guy quickly established himself as one of the greatest punters in college football history. Over his 3-year collegiate career, he averaged 44.7 yards per punt, a number that was almost unheard of at the time. His kicks weren't just powerful, they were precise. He could pin teams deep in their own territory, turning special teams into a weapon that opponents feared. But punting was just one of his many talents. Guy was also an outstanding defensive player, proving his athletic ability went far beyond his legendary right leg. In 1972, he recorded 8 interceptions in a single season, showcasing his instincts and versatility. Few punters could ever claim they were also one of the best defensive backs on their team, but Ray Guy was different. He was a rare breed, an athlete who could change the game on both sides of the ball. And then there was the punt that became legend, a 93-yard bomb against Ole Miss in 1972. That's not a typo. 93 yards. It was the kind of play that made people stop and ask, who is this guy? How could a punter possibly be this dominant? If that wasn't enough, he also found success on the baseball field. In 1971, he threw a no-hitter, further proving that he could have easily made a name for himself in another sport. In fact, Major League Baseball teams desperately wanted him. The Houston Astros, Atlanta Braves, and Cincinnati Reds all tried to sign him. They saw in him a future pitching star, but Guy turned them all down. Why? Because he knew football was his true calling. He wasn't just another multi-sport athlete. He was destined to change the game. The 1973 NFL Draft, making history. The NFL Draft has always been dominated by quarterbacks, running backs, and star defenders. But in 1973, something happened that stunned the football world. The Oakland Raiders did the unthinkable. They selected a punter in the first round. It had never been done before. With the 23rd overall pick, the Raiders picked Ray Guy, a move that left many analysts and fans scratching their heads. Why would a team spend such a high draft pick on a punter? Historically, punters were afterthoughts, picked in the later rounds or signed as undrafted free agents. No team had ever believed a punter was worthy of a first-round selection, but the Raiders saw what others didn't. At the center of this bold decision was the legendary Al Davis, the Raiders owner and general manager. Davis wasn't just looking for another punter, he was looking for a weapon. He saw something in Ray Guy that no other punter had ever possessed. Game-changing ability. To Davis, field position was everything, and no one could control it like Guy. His punts didn't just travel long distances, they seemed to defy gravity, hanging in the air for what felt like an eternity. The term hang time became widely used in football because of Guy's ability to keep the ball suspended in the air, giving coverage teams plenty of time to get downfield and stop returns before they even began. Some people doubted the pick. They thought it was a waste of a first-round selection. But Al Davis didn't care about the critics. He cared about winning. He knew that a punter like Guy could be the difference between a good team and a championship team. And he was right. Ray Guy didn't just justify his selection. He revolutionized the role of punters in the NFL. He proved that special teams could be just as crucial as offense or defense. And in doing so, he changed the game forever. The dynasty years. Building a legacy with the Raiders, Ray Guy was more than just a punter. He was a strategic weapon. He didn't just kick the ball, he controlled the game. His ability to pin opponents deep in their own territory made the Oakland Raiders one of the toughest teams to beat. With unmatched precision, power, and hang time, Guy became a cornerstone of a Raiders dynasty that dominated the NFL throughout the 1970s and 1980s. During his 14-year career, he helped the Raiders reach 7 AFC championship games and win 3 Super Bowls, a feat no other punter could claim at the time. Super Bowl dominance, the game changer. One of the greatest displays of Guy's brilliance came in Super Bowl 18 against Washington. The Raiders' defense was already elite, but Guy's punting made them even deadlier. Time and time again, he pinned Washington inside their own 20-yard line, making it nearly impossible for them to build momentum. His punts were so effective that Washington's high-powered offense never found its rhythm. 5 of his punts forced them to start drives in awful field position, and the Raiders crushed Washington 38-9, securing another championship. The helium myth. The legend grows. Ray Guy's punts were so powerful, so high, and so perfect that opposing teams started questioning whether he was playing fair. Houston Oilers coach Bum Phillips famously had one of Guy's footballs tested for helium because it stayed in the air so long. The results? No helium, just pure, unmatched talent. Guy's ability to consistently launch long, towering punts made him a nightmare for returners. His legendary hang time allowed the Raiders' special teams to swarm the returner before he even caught the ball. The Iron Man streak, a career of reliability. Throughout his career, Guy was the definition of durability. He played in 207 consecutive games, never missing a single matchup. In a brutal sport where injuries were common, his ability to stay on the field for 14 straight seasons was a testament to his toughness, consistency, and elite conditioning. By the time he retired, Guy had redefined what a punter could be. He wasn't just a specialist, he was a game changer, a champion, and a true football legend. The struggles after football. For all the success Ray Guy achieved on the field, his post-football life was not easy. He had rewritten the role of a punter, helped build a Raiders dynasty, and won 3 Super Bowls. Yet when it came time for the Pro Football Hall of Fame to recognize his contributions, they shut the door on him for nearly 3 decades. Despite being widely regarded as the greatest punter to ever play the game, the Hall of Fame selection committee repeatedly overlooked him. Year after year, his name was passed over in favor of quarterbacks, running backs, and defensive stars. The message seemed clear. Punters weren't considered real football players. This constant rejection took its toll on Guy. He remained humble, never publicly lashing out at voters, but those close to him knew how much it hurt. Former players, coaches, and even analysts pleaded for his inclusion, arguing that no punter had ever influenced games the way he had. But the struggles didn't stop at his Hall of Fame snub. In 2011, Guy faced one of the hardest moments of his life. He was forced to file for bankruptcy. Financial troubles had caught up with him, and he found himself in a heartbreaking position. To settle his debts, he made the painful decision to sell his 3 Super Bowl rings, the very symbols of his greatness. For a man who had given everything to football, the sight of his prized rings being auctioned off was devastating. Fans and former players rallied behind him, offering support and demanding justice, not just financially, but in the form of a long overdue Hall of Fame induction. It was clear football had forgotten one of its greatest pioneers. But that was about to change. Redemption and the Hall of Fame induction. After 27 years of waiting, the call finally came. In 2014, Ray Guy was officially inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, becoming the first punter in NFL history to receive the honor. For decades, punters had been ignored, dismissed as less important than other positions. But Guy's induction changed everything. His name was no longer just a footnote in NFL history. It was a symbol of excellence, perseverance, and a fight for respect. When he stepped onto the stage in Canton, Ohio, the crowd roared in approval. The long wait was over, and in his speech, Guy delivered one of the most powerful lines in Hall of Fame history. Now the Hall of Fame has a full team. It wasn't just a victory for him. It was a victory for every kicker and punter who had ever been overlooked. The position that had been ignored for so long finally had a representative among football's greatest legends. Guy's induction was not just about honoring his career, it was about changing the way the game viewed punters forever. His speech was filled with gratitude, and despite all the struggles he had faced, there was no bitterness, only pride. After his induction, Guy dedicated much of his time to teaching and mentoring young punters, helping the next generation refine their craft. He had spent his life proving that punters mattered, and now with his gold jacket and Hall of Fame bust, he had cemented his legacy forever. Though he passed away in 2022, Ray Guy's influence lives on. His story is a testament to greatness, perseverance, and never giving up, even when the world refuses to recognize your worth. Final years in legacy. Even after retiring from professional football, Ray Guy never stopped shaping the game. He had already cemented himself as the greatest punter in history, but instead of fading into the background, he chose to pass his knowledge on to the next generation. Recognizing that punters were often overlooked and underdeveloped, Guy took it upon himself to train young athletes, ensuring that the position he revolutionized would continue to evolve. He founded the Ray Guy Pro Kicker Academy, a specialized training camp designed to teach punting and kicking fundamentals to high school and college athletes. His camps became the gold standard for aspiring special teams players, and many of today's top punters credit Ray Guy with helping them refine their craft. Even though he was no longer on the field, his influence continued to shape the sport. He made sure that punters received the respect they deserved, giving young athletes the tools to succeed in a league that had historically undervalued their role. His impact extended far beyond his own career. He changed how punters were coached, trained, and evaluated for generations to come. But despite his incredible contributions to the game, time eventually caught up with the legend. In November 2022, Ray Guy passed away at the age of 72 after battling a long illness. The football world mourned the loss of an icon, but his legacy remained as strong as ever. Every time a punter launches a ball high into the air, every time a team shifts the momentum of a game with a perfectly placed kick, Ray Guy's influence can be felt. He may be gone, but the way he changed football will never be forgotten. Ray Guy's legacy a legend that will never fade. Ray Guy wasn't just a punter, he was a game changer, a pioneer, and a legend. He proved that every position on the field matters, that a great punter can win championships, and that respect is earned, not given. For decades, he fought to prove his worth, not just to the Hall of Fame voters, but to the entire football world. And in the end, he won. His career inspired countless young athletes. His impact on the game was unmatched, and his legacy will live on forever. But now, we want to hear from you. What's your favorite Ray Guy moment? Was it his legendary 93-yard punt, his Super Bowl performances, or maybe his long-awaited Hall of Fame speech? Drop a comment below and let us know. And if you love incredible football stories like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Ray Guy changed the game forever. Let's make sure his story is never forgotten.